This is Dr. Elliot Realsteen, and I have a PhD in linguistics, chemistry, and most importantly, a PhD in street. Now, it is my unfortunate responsibility to inform the world that we have been successfully co-opted as a society by morons. I do not say this because of the lack of intelligence by those who are in political office at the moment, because ultimately these positions are not permanent. Okay, some of them are not permanent. Therefore, their influence over the population is not long-lasting. The most powerful people in the world are, in fact, the people who control language. Vernacular is of the utmost importance in any culture or society. Oftentimes, it is the one binding trait shared by groups of tens, sometimes hundreds of millions, even billions of people. The actions of the people who regulate language have immense and protracted effects over the population. The ultimate authority over language in the modern day is the dictionary. This book single-handedly lays the foundation for language and therefore sets the standard by which the millions of people who speak this language communicate with one another. In previous generations, the dictionary was cherished literature, a book that contained detailed explanation of all of the idiosyncrasies of their language and was also considered a great resource for intelligence and vocabulary development. Stretch back even further through time, before mass production was ubiquitous, and the possession of a dictionary was considered a genuine privilege for any household lucky enough to have one. In modern times, the standard bearer of language, the dictionary, and the people in control of preparing and distributing it have devolved into parodies of themselves. And we as English speakers have all been subject to this embarrassment thanks to this development. Rock-solid axioms of the English language have been altered, and nonsensical terms have been added simply to placate to the morons of society and to sell more copies of each new edition of this crappy book. Take, for instance, the ridiculous term irregardless, a word used by many smug morons who thought it made them sound like the smartest person in the room when used.
I am the smartest man alive!
Now, as recently as 2009, if you were to have searched the term irregardless into any dictionary website, it would have, at that time, correctly explained that irregardless is an erroneous word which is supposed to mean irrespective or regardless, but the IR prefix application to the word render it contradictory and erroneous in usage.
Erroneous! Erroneous! Erroneous on both counts.
The term irregardless in the past was always a prime societal litmus test for separating the intelligentsia from the frauds. Truly intelligent people wanting to use a more sophisticated version of the word regardless used to use irrespective. Dumb people, when intending to say regardless, would add an IR at the beginning to try and sound more intelligent than they actually were. However, since the usage of irregardless became so widespread and rampant by these morons, it was absorbed into the dictionary as a non-standard usage of the word regardless. So now the morons of the world are not technically incorrect when they use the term irregardless. If the unashamed breaking of elemental rules of the English language isn't enough to expose the ineptitude of this once cherished institution, Perhaps the recent inclusion of some of the most ridiculous terms you have ever heard of will sway your judgment. For instance, gaydar, the throwaway pun and play on words, meaning the ability to instinctively recognize someone as homosexual, which should have been simply a fad, has been christened an official English word, as has threequel, a term which I never even encountered despite my many years on the street, as has riffage, as has bromance, as has derp, as has totes, as has obs, and also so has girl, whatever the hell that is. And there are many more just like it, and I could list examples for days, but you get the picture. Basically, the English language went from being comprised of a lexicon with contributions from William Shakespeare, Geoffrey Chaucer, George Orwell, John Milton, Sir Thomas More, and George Bernard Shaw, to being influenced by Brody Jenner, teenaged girls too lazy to spell out entire words while texting, feminist singers, and the many morons who thought irregardless was a real word which made them sound smart. A more furtive way the dictionary placates to the morons of the world is by changing the definition of long-defined words to fit into the morons' constant misuse of that term. Take, for instance, the word literally, which means in a literal manner or something expressed exactly. This definition was rock solid, and if something was not literally as it was supposed to be and was not literal, they could use the term figuratively, which means a departure away from a literal use of words. Unfortunately, the idiots of the world did not have the brain power to concurrently include both literally and figuratively in their personal lexicons. Therefore, the term literally was used when figuratively was actually applicable. And it was used so much so that the good people who run the dictionary added a fourth definition to the term literally to mean an emphasis or to express strong feelings. So basically, the dictionary, our language, acquiesced to the many millions of morons in the world who continually use the term literally incorrectly. And instead of trying to correct this ridiculous error, they just changed the definition of the word to appease them. Now, the term literally means an exaggeration. Thank you very much, Reality TV.
Posted the exact same Instagram Scott did, and I'm literally being brutalized.
My God, I mean, you bounced back from the dead. Let me tell you. Literally. Yeah, literally.
So you're not going nowhere, because I will die, literally.
The idiots have taken control of our language, our means of communication, which, given the dense nature of our interaction, is our main defining characteristic which separates us from all other animals. The dictionary, once a beacon of light for the language, has now become a mechanism which rewards foolish individuals who use their lazy pet terms, or to those dumb enough to use language incorrectly, so much so that it is somehow permitted to become correct. The idiots are at fault, but the most culpable party here is, of course, the dictionary itself, as it permits these morons to have almost carte blanche to stain our language. They allow this for one reason and one reason alone: book sales. If the language is not evolving year by year, day by day, then there would be no need to sell new editions of the dictionary every few years. and there would be basically nothing to add to their website and applications. These people need to absorb new and outrageous words into the English language and change grammatical rules and alter definitions in order to justify their professional existences and print shiny new editions of their dictionaries to sell to the masses. Now, this is all fine and good, but since when did the English language turn into a business? And more importantly, who gave these people the authority to determine what is and what isn't a word? These are questions we must answer, and expeditiously. Otherwise, we run the risk of witnessing the further degradation of our great language unfold in front of our very eyes. Sheesh.